So hi, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the Tech Leaders SaaS series. My name is Paul Foster and I head up Skylan Recruitment. Now, the reason I started this series was really to shine the light on unique individuals that really shine the light in the SaaS space, certainly the B2B enterprise SaaS space. And today I'm really happy to be speaking to somebody that's really taken a super exciting B2B SaaS platform in the EdTech market space. And this is Mark Williams. Welcome, Mark. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Hi, Paul.
Thanks for joining us today. So, Mark, I'm really keen, just for our viewers' point of view, just to get an idea of Wranx. We know it's an EdTech platform designed for the enterprise, but could you give us a little bit more information as to what it's about?
Yeah, in a nutshell, Wranx is an online training, learning and development platform that uses the proven scientific method of spaced repetition to aid learning and in particular aid knowledge retention from that side. It's micro-learning in that we will take existing training materials, we will, for want of a better name, wranxify those training materials, in other words, cut them down into bite-sized learning. These modules as such are split into daily drills. The daily drills are approximately 10 questions a day. So it's 2 to 3 minutes per day, and a module will last approximately 5 to 6 weeks. We also use gamification to encourage engagement. We have very comprehensive analytics, which I think is absolutely key to any business that's going to evolve and take on the platform. Customer service is a big area for us. So I think that once, within SaaS, it isn't a case of just giving the platform across and the information. It's actually working with the client or the business to develop and support them throughout the journey. I think the biggest issue that businesses face at the moment with training is engagement. Engagement levels are traditionally low. I think that to provide an actual resource for them is fine, but you need to put in a lot of work to make sure that people are continually using that resource. Yes, the likes of gamification will help there. You can incentivize as well from that side, but you have got to put the work in from there. As far as the different opportunities that we can create within businesses, we work with onboarding, sales training, people development. But basically, we cover the whole remit from that side, and that enables us also to work with most industries. We particularly specialize in retail, pharma, call centers from that side, and also compliance as well.
Perfect. So essentially then, Mark, what it does through taking things into bite-sized chunks, what it's allowing companies to do is gain staff engagement, increase either sales, for example, or knowledge or about processes or policy, and essentially cuts down cost on training. For example, classroom training is almost old-fashioned in these days with regards to the technology that we have.
Absolutely. The one huge difficulty with training and learning and development in general is proving the ROI side of things. Yes, it's quite easy to say that if you go to micro-learning, then we're cutting out classroom training and the costs associated with that. But the important area for us is knowledge fade. It's one thing learning something, it's another thing actually retaining that learning, especially when you're not using that information all of the time from that side. And I think that's the absolute key. There are areas such as staff retention, because you have a more qualified and a more understanding workforce on that side. Slightly harder to quantify, in the early stages. But from the point of view of sales, which is why we work particularly well with retailers, I think they can see the benefits quite quickly on that side.
Perfect. So just to understand then, because your background, the B2B SaaS sector is fairly new to you. So I'm curious to know what your background is before you joined Wranx. Can you tell us a little bit about where you've come from?
Yeah, you may have noticed from some of the comments I've made, I'm very much a retailer. Work with various retailers in the UK, Magnets, Wicks, even the RAC. But in particular, I worked with William Currie Group in the early stages of developing the fragrance shop as a retailer. We started that with one store in North Liverpool and developed it and moved it on once we had 110 stores across the country. So that's probably been my major area of focus. And therefore, it was quite easy for me to reunite with the William Currie Group again, which, as I say, was the initial purchaser of Wranx.
Perfect. So that ties in nicely to my next question, because I wanted to understand what attracted you to Wranx, being that Wranx is established in 2016. You guys are fairly new and super fast growth. So yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about what attracted you to Wranx and a bit about the story about the investment, because this is really what's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, Wranx was actually formulated in sort of 2014, but as a platform, I think in terms of going to market, it was more the 2016 phase from there. But yeah, as I mentioned before, Wranx is now owned by the William Currie Group. They took over the product in 2016. Brought myself on board. Yes, I have history of working with the William Currie Group, as I've said, so that attracted me. But also, and if I'm quite honest, of the portfolio of companies within the William Currie Group as a startup goes, I felt that this was very much the horse to back. It's a very exciting business from that point of view. I have touched on L&D before, but this is my first real foray into it. So you know, looking at the platform, looking at the people that were already involved in the business in the early stages, I found that very attractive and quite exciting. I think the challenge that goes with a startup is always exciting, even further on in one's career as it is now. So yeah, it was quite an easy decision for me.
So what about the difference from retail to software as a service? Give me some insight. What's the biggest differences you've seen? Because you've been with businesses, you've grown them, and now you're growing this much more modern technology focused business. What would you say are the standout differences?
I think the markets it's quite different. I think with retail, you know, it's quite set in terms of formulas. You know, you need to find the right places. You need to have the right product, and you need to then get the right people. But you know, of those three things, I think, you know, the right people and the right product fit anyway with the L&D space. So I suppose what I'm saying is I don't think there's huge differences in there. A business is a business. I think the same factors apply in many cases to growing a business. The difference being that in the L&D space, I think that there's more of a challenge in terms of understanding cultures and how businesses want to develop. With retail, it's very sales orientated. Yes, you've got to have the right people, of course, and develop them. But you know, it's a lot more clear focus. I think there's a much wider breadth required in L&D.
Brilliant. So in our previous discussions, I've learned from you that obviously the business started in 2014, gained momentum with backing from the William Currie Group in 2016, and then you've really starting to accelerate that growth. That comes with great opportunity, but some great challenges.
Mm.
If we was to look at, say, some key areas from DevOps, sales and marketing, customer success and recruitment, and we take one at a time, what would you say have been the challenges so far? Firstly, in DevOps, getting that technology right, getting it scalable, deliverable.
Yeah, I think from that point of view, yeah, that has been quite a challenge, because the platform was originally written in a language that, whilst suitable for the early stage growth, was never going to be sustainable, particularly from a recruitment point of view. I mean, the language used Ruby on Rails. There's very few developers out there that use that now. So first and foremost, the platform had to be rewritten in its entirety. Huge challenge within itself, but also it meant that we couldn't develop the platform at the pace initially that we wanted to, because the time was being spent on the rewrite. Yes, there was a lot of add-ons, a lot of improvements on the UI, etc. at that point, but it's only been in the last sort of year to year and a half that we've been able to really push forward on the development of the platform itself, with considerable success, I might add. So in terms of challenge, again, and you're going to get overlap in all these points.
Of course, because they're linked.
Yeah. Again, it's always going to be about getting the right people to do that development on that side. Yes, we can farm out a lot on the development, but it's costly, and it's not always the most effective way of doing things. Although in our case in particular, we have tended to outsource a fair bit of the development from that side.
Yeah, perfect. So you rewrite the program, so now it's obviously much more effective, it's scalable, which is much more attractive to your chosen enterprise clients. So then talk me through sales and marketing. What kind of challenges, because there's always challenges in sales and marketing, what have yours been to date and moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, we're a disruptive technology. Disruptive technology means that when you go out to market, that people haven't necessarily got the budget set aside for something new. They may have invested in particular in learning management systems, which take up a huge proportion of budget, I'm sure. And it is actually persuading people that we have a product that's worth finding additional budget for, or new areas of finance to cover that. In terms of sales, certainly understanding the market is absolutely key, understanding what's out there in terms of competition, but also what people are using. And in particular, I think re-educating people as to this being the way forward for them. Time is always a key consideration when we're speaking to people, and even with micro-learning, there still seems to be a degree of pushback on availability of people to do training. And I think that the fact that training can sometimes, although people pay lip service to training in many cases, that it's still pushed to the back of the queue.
Absolutely. I think with you'll share the pain with many other startups and scale-ups. You've got the disruptive technology. You've got to be able to do the education, provide the kind of education in the sales process, which it basically lengthens the sales cycle. So I suppose it's about trying to get through that sales cycle as quickly as possible to get your clients onboarded before we move on, obviously, to customer success. And that kind of does bring me nicely to the next question in terms of customer success. When, as a startup, when do you start looking at customer success? What kind of challenges or even opportunities do you see in retaining those big clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, customer success is key, and as I mentioned before, customer service and success has been a key focus throughout my career, and it is something that I think we've built in as a culture in the business. And it starts really at the very beginning. In many cases, when we're working with new clients, obviously before committing a large proportion of finance or budget to us that they want to pilot the program first. They want to trial it out. They want to see how it works. And the customer success role here is absolutely key. If we get the pilot right, we get the business. We get that wrong, we don't move any further forward. So initially that's absolutely key, and that comes in the form of not only support, but helping them with reports, helping people understand, and certainly helping the businesses get their engagement levels right. And that's very much the ongoing program from that side. We need to keep the content fresh, we need to keep it exciting, and of course we need to listen to the customer. Good communication's key. It's going to be a theme throughout everything, I think, that I talk about. But in terms of challenges, as I say, you've got to have the buy-in of the company. If they're bought into it, then it'll work. If they're not, it's always a challenge. We try and take away as much of the heavy lifting as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, people don't want to add to their workload too heavily in terms of administering the product and the platform. So we try and take care of as much of that as possible.
Perfect. What about in terms of you get your technology right, you get your sales and marketing right, you get your customer success. So then the other element is obviously the recruitment. What do you think are the challenges and the opportunities when it comes to getting the right type of talent on board in all the areas of your business?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the biggest challenge, the economy's strong. I think it's very difficult to recruit people. I believe that's one of our biggest challenges, and certainly to get the right person in. It's understanding before we go out to market what we're looking for, which I know sounds very simple, but it's absolutely key. I think that, in terms of challenges, and to promote yourself a little bit here, we need to get the right recruitment business on board with us. It's a time-consuming business, let's face it, getting people on board. Especially as a startup where we're growing quite rapidly and we're always looking for people. I think that it can take up an awful lot of time, certainly in the early days of sifting through who are going to be the right people. So to actually have the ability or to have somebody on board that can help you with the initial screening side of things and understanding the business and what you're looking for is absolutely key. In terms of the people we look for, any startup needs enthusiasm. It needs drive. I think that they're absolutely key to it. Obviously, we want to look at the skills of the people that we recruit. But as I say, I think you can go a long way if people are bought into the business and they show that enthusiasm and drive in the first place. High energy is key. Not in every area, and when we do vary, from the tech side, you quite often find that the people enjoy their work so much that they will work every hour God sent, because it's not seen as a job from that point of view, and that's great. We have a large content team, and the content team are quite academic by nature. Slightly quieter than certainly a sales force would be. So we have different cultures within the business, and it's culture that's always going to retain your people once you've got the right people on board. So very simply, finding the right people, bringing them on board, and then keeping them. It's nice and simple, isn't it? But it's absolutely key. If only the process was that easy.
What about, you mentioned a really important point there. You've got the different teams, really different characters, different processes, different skills. So how do you, I suppose, align the different cultures from content, tech, sales, marketing, customer success, and everything else? How do you do it? It's a tough one. It's a tough one for anyone.
It is a tough one. It's a tough one because you'll find that the tech team will often work headphones on in their own little world. It's absolutely the same with content. Content is very much concentration focused. There's a lot of proofreading from that side. Then you've got a noisy sales environment that's quite bullish and quite in your face, which is as you say. So there's probably two cultures rather than three in that from that side. But we try and have a good social program within the business. We try and keep things light. I think people know when to be loud and when to be quiet on that side. But I think everybody's bought in. Good communication is absolutely key again. Keeping people involved, making sure that everybody knows what's going on in the business, even if it's not within their particular field or sector. Our office is open plan, therefore you can hear most of what's going on, so you can pick up everything. And I think the idea that people have a wider knowledge and a wider understanding of the business, even if parts of it aren't that interesting to them, is key in keeping everybody on board and everybody pointing in the same direction.
Perfect. It's easier said than done. Certainly in terms of making sure everyone's bought into the vision of the business, regardless of what side that they sit on. And also the other question I had, again, kind of flows nicely onto what we was discussing. Once you've recruited somebody, they're in a team, they're competent, they're performing. How do you take a particular individual and develop them, or even a team, to the next level? Because obviously it's all about development, training. But to make things more difficult, you're a super fast growth startup. How do you maintain that level of people development?
I think having a good management team, I think within every those three departments, if we just take those three for the time being, it's important to have a good manager in there because they're going to be absolutely key in developing their people. We have quite strong processes in terms of a review culture, in terms of open conversations for building up their own confidence within the business. Then confidence is absolutely key. A clear and defined strategy in terms of where we're going and in terms of where they're going in particular. Different people want to progress at different stages. Some are quite happy within a certain level, and I think it's making sure we understand that, so that the people that want to move at pace can, the people that want to move slightly slower or are happy where they are, we understand that and can work with them as well. It is possible to have that mix within a business. You don't just need everybody focused on trying to get to the top as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And then in terms of the business growth, what would you, or how would you describe, let's say, Wranx in terms of its ambition and its, I suppose, its growth? Where do you see Wranx in, let's say, the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, we are ambitious. It's the nature of the group as a whole, and I think within Wranx we're very ambitious. We'd like to be the leading learning and development online provider on a global basis. Absolutely. A long way to go for that, I appreciate. But we've broken into a lot of markets already. We're quite heavily in Europe. We are working in North America in a big way, and I wish us to expand in particular in North America, but I see expanding globally. We're in 2,100 cities overall at the moment. Yeah. Obviously scope to grow from there, but I think it's been important to get us enterprise ready. We have a lot of small, medium-sized businesses on board, but we've just taken on a large global client in terms of the North Face. We work right across the world with the likes of Home Away, a call center-based business. on that side. And I think it is developing the enterprise, which is all about making sure the product is enterprise ready. From a product point of view, we'd hopefully one day want to be in a position where we can replace LMSs and therefore be the provider of training from that side.
Brilliant. Well, it looks like a super exciting journey, and hope to be on that journey with you guys. Mark, thanks ever so much for being part of today's Tech Leaders Series. We will catch up in, let's say, I don't know, 12 to 18 months' time to kind of come back and see how far things have gone. But from us here at Skylan, thank you ever so much.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome.